Hello, this is Peregrine Aubrey of Performance Lins, just showing you another video of the shed prior to lambing. Again, these are all the doubles and triplets and more that are to lamb this year, adult sheep for 2018. It's now the 23rd of January. The sheep have been in a month, they've been shorn, are looking very happy. Given how wet it is outside, they're definitely a lot happier indoors than they would be outdoors, taking a bit of pressure off the ground because it is very wet outside, and if you poach the ground up you won't have any grass for March and April, which is not ideal. Just climbing over a hurdle so you can look around a bit more at the sheep, see what we're doing, see whether the sheep are improving. Not that you can tell visually. What I am experiencing is that the fat lambs that I send are going off under the same management system. They're going off earlier every year, and this is through better genetics on farm. The sheep probably are getting a little bit bigger, but we're going to put a bit of a damper on that because they've probably got as big as you would like. Just climbing over more hurdles, sorry about the jolting. In regards to the ever present question of whether one should lamb indoors or outdoors, I'm more convinced that for me, and to obtain sheep with better genetics, I only have one option at the moment, and that is to lamb indoors. I must be totally mindful that nothing must slip through that gives any aggro. As I've said before, the staff that are here for lambing are lambing managers, they're not lambers. These sheep do not need, except in exceptional situations, do not need assistance. They are bred to lamb outside, as most of our customers will do. But one of the major things is that you must have date of birth, 100% knowledge as to who the progeny are by and what their parentage is, in order to make good, reliable genetic progress and to sell sheep of known provenance to your customers. Very interesting, some work done recently by Tuggus, which was brought to light or given a lecture on at the Sheep Breeders Round Table this autumn, was that in Ireland, which is a very similar system to what we have in this country, as a byproduct of them doing some early work on genomics, they found that on breeders farms, 15 prior to the genomics work, 15% of the sheep were in error when it came to parentage, and this is majorly due to outdoor lambing or inadequate use of computers and systems that allow for 100% control on data, and that's what it's all about, data management. Once you've got data management, the rest of it falls in place. I'm in some very good big deep bellied ewes. The sheep vary quite a bit in size, but that's because largely because of age. It takes till about 4 to 6 tooth before the sheep actually becomes fully grown. And we have, because we're making genetic progress, we're trying to maximize the amount of genetic progress. There is a high proportion of young sheep in this farm. As I've said before in previous videos, we are changing at least a third of the ewes over every year. Over a third of the ewes get replaced every year in order to make better genetic progress. As you can see, the Suffolks in here are New Zealand Suffolks. They're about as easy care as the Clins, which cannot be said of the British Suffolk. They aren't quite as black-faced as your British Suffolk, but they are completely different in terms of their ease of care. And seeing as most customers will be lambing, nobody wants aggro, so a little bit of a bash there. They are actually a bit wilder than the Clins. That was a New Zealand Suffolk, seeing if he could mount a gate. You wouldn't find that. You wouldn't find a British Suffolk doing that. It probably wouldn't be able to launch itself off the ground, but it nearly cleared it, which is unusual to say the least. And I got to the end of the shed. I might just give you a quick walk up the shed on the other side. The sheep TMR fed. There's the TMR feeder. Takes most of the labour out and means you control the feed. The sheep are very happy. They don't have to compete for food. There was no need. Concentrates all including the grass when necessary. And if you're going to have the sheep indoors, that's the way to go if you possibly can. I'm now moving into the triplets and above. In the next few days I'm going to be colour coding them, so I will put information with a spray mark that turns out to be very useful during lambing. I want to know which sheep are worth keeping, that are where you don't castrate the males. It's also very handy to know when you've got a sheep that's never lambed before as a titith. Some of them will have lambed as lambs and some of them won't. And I use a mauve spray to dictate the ones that had never lambed before, so it's always note when you record data about mothering ability and such like, you've got to allow for what experience they've had before. So they'll be colour coded shortly. The other thing is colour coding them to know what to expect. Because they've been shorn, I will actually colour code the triplets, so the lambing managers know what to expect when they give birth. Occasionally you should always go back and check to see whether there's anything inside them, because occasionally you do get the scanner does get one wrong, but he is very, very good. And the singles are outside, they're still in their wool. They'd get too fat if they came in here, I suspect. And it keeps these nice and thin so that I don't use too much straw. Oh, that's my phone going now. Oh, that's not ideal. May just have to let it ring. Should have turned it off. But let's stop now. But that's lovely. These are the sheep out of which you will be able to by either ewe lambs or a new stock sire. And the new stock sires always represent the best value for money in terms of what you can do to your own flock with the improved genetics that I'm producing. I mean, at the moment I own the best stock sire in the country in the Clym breed in terms of figures. If you want to look in terms of prettiness, you know, it's open to argument, but in terms of figures, it's a given, it's there on paper. You can look it up on Basco. It's all open source, the figures are all there on the internet for you to search. Coming round the shed. Ooh. I keep them well bedded. I think that is putting at the moment 1 round bale per pen when I bed them down, but it is lasting over a week at the moment, which is good. It's some nice straw, it's good barley straw, and it keeps them clean. They're happy, and especially if you shorn them, they need something comfortable to lie on. It's also good from the sort of health and welfare point of view, and making sure, you know, and making sure there isn't too much bacteria on wool when they give birth. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you fancy coming down or contacting us, if you're interested in any of the breeding stock, I will look forward to your phone call. Bye now.